Hello, this is Jamie Sparling, FormABLE Podcast, and I have Josh Prior today of MKG Madison. Before we get going, like, subscribe, drop a comment, all that good stuff. Josh Prior is the head instructor and owner of MKG Madison, as I said before, and they have just hit their 15th year in business as a martial arts school, and that I really do believe is something to celebrate. Josh, are you aware that only 30% or 1/3 of martial arts schools make it past the 10-year mark?
I was not aware of that. That's pretty. That makes what we're doing pretty special, I guess. But yeah, no, I wasn't aware.
Yeah, well, you're too busy working and teaching, dude. I always admire you for that.
Yeah,
I needed to go in and look at some numbers because on a scale, I just wanted to kind of check it out. And the information I came up with said that after about a third of the schools make it to 10 years, and it can be somewhat smoother sailing after that. And yeah.
I'll let you know when that happens.
Okay. All right. That's it.
No, we're good.
Yeah. So your passion, MKG Madison. Tell us a little bit about your school and what you're doing right now and how it's evolved, brother.
Well, before you get too far, when you asked me to do this, you said this is your 70th episode.
Yeah,
is that true?
It's 60. I don't even know the numbers myself. See,
60 episodes. Yeah, but that's pretty remarkable too. I don't know if I could do what you're doing for that amount of time, and I've kind of paid attention and throughout your stint doing the FormABLE podcast, and what I've always respected about what you do is you bring in people from all walks. You brought in people that are more popular on social media, and then people that really could use a little bit more attention because they're great folks and they're great representations of the martial arts environment, and you bring them in, talk to them, and ask them about their lives, and just sit and listen and help us to kind of get a feel for what's going on around us. Like for me, I just put my head down sometimes and don't see what's going on, but hearing from people that you bring in and being able to pay attention and hear their stories, it, like you said, it kind of puts perspective on what we're doing. And so thank you. And I'm proud of you for doing that. I appreciate it. That means a lot.
It means a lot to me, brother. I've always admired you quite a bit, and you've been a great friend and a big part of my martial arts journey, so that means a great deal.
Cool. Yeah. You too, man. We met a long time ago. I don't know how long it's been now. I don't even say the number. We don't need to do it. By chance, and here we are all these years later doing this thing twice, and I'm celebrating 15 years, and you came along in the first 2 or 3 years that we were in operation. So again, maybe it was the second year, I think. I can't remember exactly, but so you've been a part of this for the majority of those 15 years. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Got it, brother. My honor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 15 years. You blink and it goes by, right?
Yeah.
I've always been one of those people that's kind of hard. I don't see chronology that well. It just kind of all's happening kind of in the moment person. So I don't look back too long, and I don't look forward too far. But it's been a blur, and it's been pretty cool. I can't imagine myself doing I'd imagine me doing anything else. Obviously, like you said, a lot of schools don't make it this far, and I assume that all the owners have the same thoughts as me. Is like, man, I could do something else and make good money and whatever, and not have the same kind of stresses that school owners do. And I'm no different than that. But with that said, every time I thought about that, I just sat down and really thought it through, and I can't see myself doing anything else. And be fulfilled and be content. I think I'd definitely be missing something in my life. So Um, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. 15 years.
It's very crazy. Something you just said was when I was in New York and I tried my hand at acting, some of the people that I met said, well, only do this for a living if you can't really see yourself doing anything else because it's
Mhm.
hard. And,
Yeah.
very similar to, your passion in martial art, our passion in martial art. Like, if doing a 9 to 5 and having a little bit more stability made sense, right? And we could see ourselves doing it, then yeah, we'd be all in, but
Right.
just not how we're made.
Yeah. My wife and I have talked about it a bunch of times, and, you know, you don't get into martial arts to make a lot of money and build like stability in your life and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. That's not why you do it. You do it because you love it, and then if you get to a point to where you are at a place where you can maybe start your own deal, you never think about it as a business. It's just an opportunity to do what you love full time,
Hmm.
Um, and I've been pretty fortunate from the get go. Thankful for my wife and stuff supporting and my kids supporting us through this, 15 years that I've pretty much been doing this as my main gig from the get go.
Hmm.
It hasn't always been easy, but it makes it easier when you have a person in your life like my wife that's just like, yeah, I know this is what you love, man. Put your head down and go. We're gonna go do it together. And my kids, all my kids are adults now, and none of them are resentful of the path that I took, which is, I guess, I'm thankful for that. And they were along with me for the ride for a long time, and now they're all on their own, doing their own things, and they all ask how the gym's doing and all the time. And so it's been, yeah, without them, I probably would have had to fold in and do something more stable. But um, since they were supporting me, man, it made it that much easier for me to just put my head down and keep rocking and doing the best I can with stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're both really lucky in that way. Our wives are like right behind us 100%. And that is, I think, rare in this culture, you know, and we're both so blessed with that. And that being said, too, they're both involved in the gyms, and they also get to see the lives sometimes they get changed.
Yeah.
It always just like fascinates me that maybe sometimes 2 to 3 hours a week can really make a difference in somebody's life. And we don't always know what they're going through or what else is going on. And sometimes they'll tell us, and sometimes they tell us too much, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's one of those things. So I'm sure it's very rewarding for them as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, you don't really realize the kind of effect you have on people, especially when you're just putting your head down and you're just doing the day to day stuff. And through this preparation for the celebration we're having this weekend, um, we were reaching out to, anybody who came through the door to invite them back, and then people who spent time with us that had to move on for whatever reason. So we call it, they're like alumni for our gym. And so we've been reaching out to them, and I've been fortunate to have a bunch of people kind of, man, I'm moved across the country, but I remember you, and I remember what you did, and it's been, it was a big part of my life, and I've taken a lot with it. Like I just got an email last night from a friend who moved to Arizona, and he had to go down there for wife for his health with his wife to make sure that she was healthy, and he's like, yeah, I've been doing a little group for 3 or 4 years now, just teaching the basics that you taught me at MKG, and I love it. I miss you guys and all that kind of stuff. And
Choked you up.
kind of choked me up a little bit, and had the honor to go to a graduation party this last weekend for a young lady that's graduating that started when she was gosh, she must have been 5 or 6 years old when she started. And she ran with us and did all the stuff and was a big part of our kids program until COVID. And then even through COVID, she stung around and got on Zoom with us, one of the few that did. And then it kind of, she became a teenager and kind of started doing her own things. But her mom and dad invited my wife and I to their graduation party and asked us to write her a letter. And when we saw her, she ran over and gave me a hug and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, you don't realize that stuff until these kind of milestones come up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so beyond the martial arts, it's just how you connect with people. And I think in our last podcast we did together, I talked about that martial arts is great, but for me, it's more of a method to connect with people and share lives with people and with a mutual passion for something. And you kind of see it on the mats, but then everybody goes home and does their own thing. But then when these kind of milestones come up and you reach out and you hear stories that you would have never known,
Mm-hmm.
it does help me to like realize all those days where I thought I should just quit, man. This is rough. And then you get these stories like, that's why I keep going. That's, I didn't know it then, but you made the connection later on. Like, this is it,
Yeah.
So it's been a fantastic and difficult and all those things 15 years, but I don't think I'd change it. I mean, if somebody asked me for advice, I'd give them a lot of things that I did wrong. I don't know how many things I did right, but we're still here. So,
Amen.
That's it. So,
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Martial arts is not the path to great wealth. It is not going to be super stable, right? And it's even harder to measure sometimes the lives touched, like you said, until you get those moments, right, where you're reaching out and someone says, "Oh no, I'm still going. I'm still going a little bit," and we're working the basics with a small group, or, sometimes they went on to a different school or done something different,
right,
but we kind of the buzzword, and people say it, we held the space for
sure,
them at the
right,
beginning,
right,
and yeah, some of the
yeah,
most difficult times in my life, it was like the martial arts was like the one thing that I had that was positive that was going on. And
right,
outside of that, oh my gosh, nothing. And a lot of it was of my own making at times,
sure,
but the martial art part, 2 to 3 hours a week, two to
right,
three hours a week sometimes.
for sure. And that's better than nothing for sure. But I was talking to one of my students last week, and she had not been able to come in for a couple of weeks, and we kind of connected through texting and whatever, and she said, yeah, I just having some rough stuff going on at home. And so like you've seen, I've been pretty inconsistent, and I'm probably going to be like that for a while. I said, well, we're happy whenever you walk in the door. We're excited to see you whenever you walk in the door, and know that every time you've come in, I think you walk out with a smile. So remember that, this could be, like you said, that anchor point when things are rough and you need something that you can rely on. And getting sweaty and having some impact therapy with friends and people that have the same passion as you can, send you home feeling a little bit better, at least for a little while. Life always catches up. Life always kind of, finds a way to get in there. But, getting away and doing something like this, it's my wife kicks me out of the house when I'm grumpy and tells me to go to the gym. So, yeah,
Good for her.
she's
Yeah,
always right. So,
she's a
yeah,
good woman, man.
yes, yes,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah. I was talking to whatever. I was talking to my older daughter, and we were talking about some stuff, and I said, "You've never heard me say a negative thing about your mom ever." She's like, "No, I haven't." And I said, "You never will, because your mom is probably the best person I know."
Mm.
So,
Not everybody can say that, brother. Not everybody
Love you,
can say
Ruth.
that. Yeah,
If you see
Ruth,
this,
you're the best, Ruth. That's it. So yeah, in the midst of it, if you don't mind me asking, you
sure.
said that there would be some advice that you would give people as they were starting out that might be different than what you did.
Advice would not be the right word. Maybe some pitfalls to avoid.
Yeah, that sounds like advice because
Okay.
pitfalls are just by nature right in front of us, and we're like, I don't know where I'm at.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, the first thing I'd say, if it's something that you really want to do, you got to go through like what you and I said earlier. Is like you got to kind of measure and say, now, can you see yourself doing anything else and being happy and content? Because martial arts can always be a great pastime that you just enjoy, that's just yours. You just go and you be a student and you train and maybe teach and help out in your local school and have that before you dive into this idea of running your own operation or having your own gym. Or I think that's something you have to dive deep in and see first, because sometimes from the outside it looks a little glamorous, or whatever. You got your own space and all your own bags and your own mats, and you're getting all these classes and everything, and everything's going great, and they don't see like the 6 hours you spent in front of a computer on phone calls, making all this kind of stuff, cleaning the mats and the toilets and all that stuff beforehand. So first of all, it's just make sure you that's something that you have a clear idea from, and then take your time. You don't have to start out big, start out small. I think that's kind of something that maybe I could have done better. Maybe I did everything. My gym started off because it was kind of a forced opportunity, and I had to move pretty quickly. By the time I decided, probably the end of February of 2011, that okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then April 1st, I had keys to a space, and May 1st, I was running a school. I was teaching for somebody else beforehand, so I had a little bit of experience, but again, I wasn't running my own space. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to think it through. That was a forced opportunity that we had to jump on, so I wouldn't change it. But also, if you have an opportunity to really make sure you have the time to think it out and get kind of your P's and Q's squared away, it could help. You don't have to rush into it. The art's always going to be there. I don't know. I think the one thing that I tell everybody is put the students first. Put them first in whatever you do. The art is there to help us help each other, and we want to make sure that we're guiding our charges, or the people that are in our gym, in a way that's going to benefit them, and not the way that I think they should go. The way that pay attention to what they're asking for, what they need, what they're looking for, what their goals are, and help guide them through that, and not what you think they should look like. There's a lot of cookie cutter things that we do that maybe the martial arts is kind of can be known for, like you all want to look the same and have the same moves and all that kind of stuff. But it's an art, and art in general is intensely personal. Painting or drawing or dance or any of that stuff is intensely personal. And so if we as guides or instructors try to guide our students in the way we think they should be moving or what they should look like, I think we're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
So we have to have kind of a standard that we live by, but we also have to pay attention to what they need and what they're looking for, what their goals are, to make sure we help them, so they feel like they are actually doing their own. They feel like this art is theirs.
Yeah.
And I'm not just a disciple of some system or some person, that they take ownership of it. So helping them guide through that, I think that's a really big thing. Yeah. So if you're an instructor, then, maybe take a good stock of your ego, maybe, and make sure that you're doing it for them and not for you because you want to be seen or you want to be whatever. I don't know. We all go through our little ego things where we go, oh, everything's going great and everything is because I'm doing good. But really, we got to try to, once that happens, we got to keep people around us or keep ourselves in check so we know that we're here for our students and not, necessarily to make ourselves be better or whatever.
Yeah. I like that you said that. Well, one thing that has come through the podcast, through a great many people that I've talked to, and this is what I got from what you said, but it's just as important to listen, right, as to be teaching or extrapolating information or throwing things out there or tweaking everything all of the time. Because the students will let you know what it is that they need. And sometimes it's going to be, verbally, and sometimes it's like you'll see them move, right? And being able to listen to them and put them first is absolutely critical to probably having a long-term gym.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, if people take ownership of something, then they'll want to nurture it correctly and they'll want to take the time to do it well. I think if they feel as though they're doing something for somebody else, there's less responsibility of it in general. So, trying to help guide people and help them recognize that, no, this is, you guys, each one of my students came into the gym for a specific reason and a specific goal. And those things may change. Your priorities may change. My job is not to kind of funnel you all into my perspective of how to do martial art, but to pay attention and help guide you in the, you tell me what you need and me kind of filter that through what you're saying and if what you understand or don't understand and help you get to that point. And sometimes it's with us and sometimes it's maybe in a different environment, and we need to be honest about that too. And then, if, like for us, we're not a big school that has a lot of competition oriented stuff with it. And if I have students that really want to compete in, a kickboxing match or MMA or a grappling match, I just have to be honest with myself and say, that's not where I excel, and that's not where I can be a good guide. So I got to help them find a place for them so they can pursue their goals. And I think, and for us, I think that's proven out pretty good because we've had people that have gone down that route and then got their fill of their competition and then turn around and come back when they're done and say, yeah, I want this. And you felt confident enough to let me go. So I know that you care about me. So that's why I come back. So I've had that happen a few times. That's pretty fulfilling too.
Yeah. Yeah. And you actually did fight in an MMA match.
I had a smoker. I had one. I had a little smoker. Not nothing big. But also, not the whatever, but that was less about the competition and more about the experience so I can relate to my students at the school that I was teaching at.
Okay.
Yeah. I was never, I mean, I can be competitive. I can 100% could be competitive. And at that time I was teaching, I didn't have MKG Madison at the time. I was teaching for somebody else. And, it was a more competition-oriented school, so I tried to fit in and do what's best for the students and help and try to learn about the competition side of it. But I wanted to go through the training camp, and go through the experience and feel the stress. And I did it with we had some smokers for kids and stuff at that point, so I got to work with a couple of my kids and a couple of the kids that I taught at the school, and then also some adults, and then I competed myself. Yeah, and it was what it was, For some people, it probably scratched an itch. For me, it just kind of ticked the box. I'm like, I did that, good. But the experiences I got for the training camp and all the stuff that led up to it was more important than the actual event. So I was able to kind of take that in, analyze it, and, just let it run through the old dome here and see how I can help students through my experience through it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, just a smoker. It was fun, I guess, but my wife told me I shouldn't do it, and I agreed with her. She said, do it again, I should say.
Yeah.
So,
Well, could you explain to our viewers what a smoker is in case they don't know?
it's like it's like an inner school scrimmage, I guess, would be the best way to kind of explain it. Like if you have two different schools, basketball teams at two different schools, but it's not like a official thing. They just want to have an opportunity for their players to play against somebody else than their other team, than their regular teammates that they see every practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that. And so there was a school little ways away from us. Actually, it was Justin's school. So it was Justin's school.
Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure at least the person that I competed with was Justin's school. And it was the owners and the coaches kind of talked and trying to find the right weight classes and all that stuff. So each of us from each side of each school can have an experience, which felt like a big promotion, but it's really just inviting a bunch of people, your friends and family, in to watch you and another person scrimmage, just spar, but you don't know each other. So it has a little bit more energy and a little bit different feel to it. So that's really all. A smoker is just basically an inter school scrimmage for combat athletes.
Yeah. I like what you said about, being at a school that was competitive and then wanting to try it yourself. I was able to help a small MMA gym a long time ago. And there was just something about it where I don't know. I can deal with the imposter syndrome quite a bit sometimes. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And I did do an MMA fight, but I needed to do something because it felt weird going, all right, check this out. Now go get him. Like no one's punching me, right?
Yeah,
And that's
right.
why I actually started. I did a couple small jujitsu tournaments at Justin's to
Right.
have an idea,
Yeah.
of what that is, and I think
Yeah.
it's important.
And I think if you're gonna even be in that environment, you're not doing your students a service. You're doing your students a disservice if you don't at least try to go through as much of it as you can, so you can relate to what they're going through,
Mm-hmm.
both physically, like how hard it is. Like, no, you got practice every night or 3 nights a week. Yeah, I know you worked. I know you're tired, but you're getting a ring in 10 weeks. And if you just decide you're too tired today, what's going to happen when you're in the ring? Going through all that. And then the mental anguish of it, like all the stress and all the stuff that goes with it. And then actually walking through at the event and dealing with like all the adrenaline and how you feel, and then being able to say, hey, this is what I'm going through. And also for some students that want to compete, but they're not sure why,
Mm-hmm.
to help them go through that process. Like, now, what are you really looking for? Because here's what you're going to have to do that. Here's what we're going to do, and I'm going to put you through to get to that point. Now, you have to be honest with yourself. Is it worth it to you to get to that point? And so, because you're a schooler, you have people come in and, yeah, I want to do that MMA thing, like, and I want to fight. Okay, do you know what that actually? Are you sure what that means and what that entails? And it's our job to educate them. But if we haven't gone through it, I think it's hard to be a good educator about it. We can just kind of, I guess and go by other people's stories if we haven't done it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, but also for me, it was like, well, that was good. If I ever do my own thing, I'm not interested in taking any students through that. And I'll send them to people that are much more prepared and are excited about it. So that's why our school isn't terribly competitive that way. So,
yeah, that's good. And
yeah.
you have a lot of really good camaraderie at your school. It seems like it's always been that way, or at least why I've been around, and I'm sure there's always issues. There's always people that don't
Yeah.
get along, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or just prefer to not maybe work together or something like that. But that camaraderie is really, really important.
Yeah. That's something we work on a lot, man. That's one of the culture of the gym will dictate a lot, you know, especially if so you and I, we've kind of been in the martial arts for a long time. So when we go looking for martial arts schools, we're kind of looking for maybe a particular system or a
Hmm.
particular art or something that we're looking for. The mass public doesn't know the difference between, you know, silat and taekwondo necessarily. They know they're two different things, but they don't, they're not sure. They just want to do some martial arts stuff.
Hmm.
And it's our job to educate them, but we have to make them feel confident and comfortable and know that they're supported and there's a community that's here to help them. Um, so they feel comfortable enough to ask the question, so then they can start knowing the differences between the art, and then we can help guide them in the direction they want to go. So I think it's the community and the culture that you build is more important, I think, than the actual art that you teach.
I agree.
Because if you have a great, that's why some of these schools that we kind of, the more commercialized schools and stuff, man, I if they have a great community, all the kids are hanging out after class and all the adults are talking while the kids are in class and all this stuff, and there's all this stuff going on and they feel like a good vibe. The art is kind of secondary. They're moving around and they enjoy it, and then as they kind of get into it and get comfortable and feel like I can ask questions and not be made fun of or blah blah blah, then they can figure out, oh, this is this part of the art, this is this part, and I like this. Is this okay? To or they can ask questions when they're not like sure about stuff. So yeah, it's a really big part of our at MKG. That's something I'm probably the most proud of over the 15 years is that although there are just personality clashes and occasional and stuff like that, but we get through it because we know that we have this shared passion and we're always here to support each other. So even if there's a difference, it's not anything that can't be worked through because we know we're building this idea of caring about each other. So
Yeah.
we just kind of work past it, which I wish something would happen more often. It seems like our culture is like, well, if we don't agree on this one thing, we can't be friends, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Do you think that's because people need to be heard so much lately? No one's listening. That's what I kind of think of sometimes. I see a lot of people, especially online, that will be like, well, they're outraged by something. And deep inside, I think, did you just stub your toe?
Yeah,
Right? Because I don't know that you're really upset as much about this particular thing as really is about what's going on here.
yeah, that could very well be. I think there is a innate need in people just to be connected to other people and have a common, I don't know, common ground. And sometimes that's through complaining. So, or
Yes.
pitching a fit. And so if there's a group of people that are unhappy about something and you're like, well, I'm kind of unhappy about that. Maybe if I get loud, they'll accept me and they'll say, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I would like to think that we're evolving but I don't think that's the case.
No,
No, I think
no.
we're just folks, and it's okay. Like I said, if we have a responsibility within ourselves then to deal with that appropriately. We can jump on the bandwagon and do that, get angry and then get angry back and forth and stuff, or we can say, okay, like you said, did you just stub your toe today? Are you okay? Can we I know you're upset. Can we talk about it? We don't have to yell back and forth. And I don't know. I mean, I think if we did that more often, I think that has to do with listening and understanding and trying to figure out like underlying things. But I don't think people have patience for it, nor do they care enough sometimes to do that. So I think we're going on a path where I get weird. But so that's kind of what I think. I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to get weird. That's,
Sorry, that's not what I meant.
No, it's okay.
We're already weird.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We don't want to. We don't want to
do martial arts for a living. For goodness sakes.
Yes. Yes.
We're weirdos.
There's a certain amount of weirdness we want to keep packed away, just for our significant others, so that quite possibly they will kick us out of the house and tell us to go do martial arts.
Go to the gym. Go to the gym.
Go to the gym. Yes.
No, I think like you're saying, I really appreciate your how you characterized our environment here, because it's something that we work really hard on. And over this kind of last few months of preparing for this thing that we're doing this weekend, we've seen a lot of people step up, like, yeah, how can I help? How can I help? And that's I think that's a good indicator of a community that cares and that takes some ownership and feels like they're really a part of it. So we've been thankful for that. So yeah, I think I'm thankful. That's really why I'm staying. I not really, but that's one of the major reasons why I haven't quit. I haven't gone to do something else where I can make more money or have something more stable, is because of the people that are committed to this thing that we built together. And I would feel horrible if I'm the one that just pulled the plug on it and be like, sorry guys. I mean, I love what I do, but also I love the people enough to where I wouldn't want to pull the carpet out from underneath them and stuff like that.
Yeah. You have
real honest.
Well, yeah, we like that. Blatant honesty is always good, brother. You have some folks that help you teach and do different things. Want to tell us a little bit about them? I don't want to put you on the spot or anything.
No, I have a great group of folks, and I've had a great group of folks that have kind of gone through over the years that have kind of moved on and had to move away. But yeah, right now, I mean, our team is bigger than I think it's probably ever been, just differently. Obviously, my wife is a big part of the stuff. She kind of handles all the financial stuff. And then Dan is a co-owner with me as of recently over the last few years, and he kind of helps me with all the technical stuff and all the stuff that I don't really have a grid for, and he's been helping with the marketing and all that stuff. And I think that's over the last year or so, it's been really kind of starting to slowly take off, and a lot of credit to him for that. And so Dan DeRubis has been super helpful. He's also a student, and was a student a long time before he became a partner in this thing. And then we currently have 3 people teaching, but I have several people that I'm considered their instructing guide. So Mitch Johnson, and he's been with me for about 8 years, and he teaches a couple of classes a week. And then Tony Petty, he also teaches a couple of classes a week. And Tony's been with me. We've been training for, I want to say 17 years or 18 years, because we were together at a previous gym where I was teaching there, and that's where he started his career. And then when I had the opportunity to start my own place, he came over and was training. Then Dan, the co-owner, he also teaches a couple of classes a week. And then we have somebody that's relatively new over the last 2 years, I think. His name's Mark Nessel, and he's been teaching a grappling class once a week that's been super helpful and kind of helps expand the offerings that we have, because that's something that we've talked about over the years. Grappling, I can do it. I have an understanding of it, but it's not my expertise. And he spent a lot of years, over 40 years in that world. And so he's doing that. And then we have folks that have taught for me in the past that have changed in their life. Tawny Morrison, who taught for us for a while, and then grew her family a little bit, and has been kind of taking some time off. Same thing with Kat Bartels, and she taught for us for a little while, and then was growing her family and had to take some time off. But they're helping in the background with a lot of administrative things and helping with this stuff. And then there's been people that have gone along the way. Matt Bender, who just had to move away, and John Gilmore, he moved to Arizona. Andrew Bender or Andrew Brecky, and he moved. He has gone in a different direction. Kyle Coker. There's a lot of folks that have helped us along the way by teaching classes or being super supportive in the background with administrative stuff, because I'm an idiot when it comes to a lot of that stuff. So
It's just not your expertise, brother.
Yeah.
Right. I say the same thing, and I always get corrected. Like, you're not an idiot. Okay. All right. Okay. It's just not my expertise. I'm better on the mats with a couple sticks in my hand.
Right. Yeah. It's their expertise, and they probably have more of a passion for it than I do. So, if we're being more politically correct and not so self-deprecating, then yeah, I can do it if I need to. They'll do it better, faster, and they'll enjoy it more than I will. So, yeah, and we've had, in my kids program, when that was happening, we had 3 out of the 4 of my kids at one point helped teach classes or were assistants in classes. So shout out to Trey and Cole and Alana. And then Jasmine is my other daughter, and she didn't help teach, but she was part of the program for a long, long time. And then we had a couple of kids that have just moved along, James and Deja and Veda, and they were all helpers at one point, and they've kind of, they're adults, and I think one went to Stanford and the other, so just having very successful lives on their own. So yeah, those are all, this is good for me, because I'm remembering all these people and how they helped. And one of the things when you asked about advice, I think one of the things that I was getting to is that don't be afraid to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier, don't think you have to do everything on your own, and recognize your strengths. And like you said, you're not an idiot, but recognize your strengths and your weaknesses, and try to find people that you trust to help you with places that they're strong and you're not as strong at. And give of yourself to them so they feel valued and they can take ownership of the things that they're good at. So, I try to give them, hey, if you do these things, man, we'll be on the mat, because that's what I'm good at, and I think that's some advice to just get help. And so you kind of encouraging me to remember all these folks that had a lot of help along the way, a lot of help.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me, although sometimes, in the daytime when everybody else is at work or at school or whatever, and you're just sitting in at your desk all by yourself, it feels pretty lonely. But
yeah,
it's not. There's a lot of help along the way. I know we wouldn't have made it here without all those folks.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. And that's a big part of your culture. I've told several people, and as well as you, and it's not just an ego stroke, that that's one of my favorite places to train in Wisconsin is MKG Madison. I remember an instructor workshop program that we did a few months ago, and you spoke to protecting your students, right? Yeah. And the verbiage, whatever. But I remember thinking, you're a bigger guy than me. I'd rather spar you than I'd rather spar a lot of people, because I'd get more out of it, and I don't worry about you hurting me. You know what I mean? We got to spar a couple times, and that was just kind of like one of those things where, hey, I knew that you were looking out for me. Right. Just recently, I rolled for the first time with since I had my shoulder hurt with my professor, and he was like, good job. And I felt really good. And I needed that a little bit,
Sure.
right?
Right.
But also knowing that he is not going to hurt me and he knows I'm injured.
Right.
And he's a black belt and I'm a purple belt.
Yeah.
So he can guide me and do the things he needs to do, not make it easy, right?
Yeah.
But make
Yeah.
it challenging and not worrying about winning or doing anything that's going to throw me off, you know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's really important, I think.
Yeah, I think that lesson is not just in sparring. I think that's in everything too. Like you said, it's when we had that little conversation over that instructor deal, we were talking a little bit more about onboarding and watching new students as they coming in and making sure they're a good fit and protecting that the culture that you already have
Mm-hmm.
um, built up and making sure that the people that are checking out your school are a good fit. And it's more of a, a lot of people think it's them interviewing, the new prospective students interviewing the school. No, it's also us as the owners interviewing the people coming in because we built something and we want to preserve it and protect it and grow it. And so that may be why we're not as big as maybe as we could have been. Maybe I'm a little too protective. But with that said, I'm not disappointed with how we've done it because,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you walk down. I think the best compliment I can get is that when people visit our school, they feel like they're at home.
Yeah.
They feel welcomed. They feel cared for. They feel seen. They feel, they feel like, well, yeah, I haven't been here in 3 years, but it feels like I was just here yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
or I've never been here before, but I know Josh and this gym seems exactly like what I would expect it to be. Those are
Mm-hmm.
the biggest compliments we can get. But the way we do that is by um, being uh, very clear about what our culture is and how we protect it. And so
Mm-hmm.
over the years, that's something that we've worked hard at. And I've made mistakes along the way of, bringing folks in and realizing that, yeah, they're great martial artists, but they're not a good fit for our environment. Doesn't mean they're bad people. They're just not a good fit for our environment.
Mm-hmm.
Had a fantastic, and I won't mention any names because he's a great guy. Um, Came in and taught Muay Thai for us for a little while, but he was much more in the competitive mindset and groove than my students were used to or wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to part ways, but we parted ways amicably. He just like, I need a more competitive environment. And I said, well, we need a less competitive environment. So I hope you find a place for you. And
Yeah.
you're always, we love you and everything, but that's not what we're looking for. And so we had to protect our environment by letting a really good person, a good martial artist, kind of find his own way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't anything that there was no animosity. It just was, we had different goals, and I had to protect what we're growing, and he had to find his own way. It's like we said earlier, my job as the head instructor and the guide for the students is to help them find their way. And if it's not here, then be honest about that and help them and put them first and help them find their way to what's great for them. So
Yeah. That's
yeah.
that's hard. That's a hard choice to make sometimes too. I mean, in
Mhm.
that particular type of situation, it sounds like it was both people coming to an agreement. You know what I mean? But um, sometimes it can be alluring to have someone at the school that has these razor sharp skills and has all of these things, almost like it'll bring street cred to the school, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just
So, yeah.
it's very difficult, and then to look at it in a different way and go, ooh, this probably, and this person's great. They're not talking about whatever this is, and they're really good at what they do. But this could really sour part of the culture.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that I think it's like we and I'm sure I'm not making anything up, but I like the term martial maturity,
Sure. Yeah.
and it goes
Yeah.
at a different rate. Like being an instructor at first, there is a little bit of look at me,
Hmm.
right? There's a little bit
Yeah.
of this is what I can do. There's a little bit of this. And then if that can grow to an
Mhm.
unhealthy level, if it's not caught,
Right.
right? Uh, so
Yeah.
yeah,
I think you were saying, the idea of like you get to a certain point in your school where maybe you get a little, as a school, you get a little notoriety and people are like, yeah, man, I want to go there. But, and they're fantastic martial artists. I mean, sharp as a tack and a good person
hmm
and all that kind of stuff. And it's, as a school owner, we're thinking, okay, yeah, that guy's got a little, and maybe us together will build something, you know,
yeah,
bigger and help each other out. But if no matter how good they are, how good of a person they are, if our goals aren't aligned, then it's gonna be a short term fit. Because at
mhm,
some point we're gonna, you know, I'm like, well, I was hoping to get this, do this, and then I was hoping to get, go this direction. So yeah, I mean that was one of those where it turned out really well that
mhm.
we could do that, but I think we were mature enough, to your point, to kind of get to that point where like and trust each other enough to just say what we needed and
Mhm.
realize that we weren't good for what we were looking for each other. So,
Yeah.
and it turned out fine. It turned out real good. I mean, that person found a place where they can teach and feel and get what they wanted, and we're still here. So it
Yeah.
wasn't the it was probably the best outcome. But I've heard of the ones where they just wait too long, and either the person that they brought in starts kind of altering the culture of the school by bringing in people that align with
Mhm.
their their vibe or whatever, and then the school just kind of slowly shifts this direction, and all of a sudden, as far as a school owner, you kind of realize it too late because you're putting in like, man, this is great to have this here, and all of a sudden it doesn't look like what you were trying to develop, and then it goes bad, and you don't want that. You don't want that.
Yeah. We're back to us versus them.
Yeah.
There is a person, her name's Brene Brown,
Okay.
and she is, I'm just going to call her a social speaker, but she's like a doctor and and all types of stuff. But one of the
Yeah.
things I heard her say in this talk one time is, why is it that it is so easy to start up a conversation with somebody next to you over, I'm going to use the word bitching, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
oh, that
Yeah.
guy drops his hands every time he punches. Yeah, I just noticed that.
Yeah.
Right. And next thing you know,
Mhm.
then the third person. Well, I don't even think that they're punching very hard.
Right.
And those
Mhm.
spikes can happen so quickly from
Right.
something even so silly, or even
Yeah.
just from just bringing up an observation that is unkind, and then
Right.
someone can jump on it so quick, and that
Right.
energy it grows.
Yeah. That's a cancer. That's something you don't want. Yeah. And that's part of the listening. When we talk about listening to our students, it's not necessarily listening. It is listening directly to them, but also keeping your ears open for what's going around in the gym and just listening to how things are shifting and things are moving. And in the same breath as you would listen to a specific person to help guide them in the where they need to go, you have to
Mhm.
listen to the gym and make sure you're guiding your environment where it needs to go. But that means you just kind of have your ear to the ground and you know paying attention when things. So yeah, we spend a lot. I think if instructors or school owners were really honest, they spend a lot more time doing that than they realize.
I
trying to
hope
keep their
so.
ear to the ground. I hope so. I hope
Yeah.
so. I mean, but but whether or not they do anything with it is kind of the deal. I mean, I think we all hear all the rumors and all the grumbling, and this person's got an issue with that person, and this person was, this other person kicked the person too hard, and they get a little irritated by it, and yada yada, and they didn't talk it out, and all that kind of stuff. And then you're like, nah, it's fine. They'll deal with it. They'll deal with it. Everybody's cool, and just assume everything will smooth over. And then before you know it, you got people fighting in the freaking locker rooms or something stupid.
Yeah.
So that's never happened to us, thankfully. But in the competitive world, I know that's can be easy to kind of pick up if you're too busy worrying about other stuff and not paying attention to listening to the whole vibe of your space. So
Yeah. It can happen so fast. And
yeah,
these are combative arts. So, I
sure.
mean, even in the midst of jujitsu, you can reach for the collar
Hmm.
and the person will think they got punched.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then like that can go off the crazy train a little bit sometimes, and it's so easy to do.
I like to make fun of us a little bit as a group. In that we're all martial artists, so the big part of that is we're artists, and artists are can be very
Temperamental.
touchy, temperamental, and touchy about their art. If somebody critiques their painting, and they feel like it's a slight, or they critique their sculpture, and they feel like it's a slight. It's very easy because you're so passionate and it's so personal that I think if we're not careful, those things they catch fire much faster than they would normally in normal
Yeah.
things, because martial arts are a bunch of whiny little bitches in general, because we're so kind of so our egos are so tied into, or can easily be tied into, what we're doing, and we kind of take this art that we're developing and we're growing, and we put hours and hours and hours of time into, and it's easy, if you're not careful, to let some benign slight take hold and then cause a rift. So yeah, we try really hard to train really hard at the gym, but not take ourselves too seriously. That's one of the things we talk about when I bring in, new students. Like, we train hard, we take our art seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Mm.
We're not going to find a bunch of, you know, bite on your mouthpiece and just go people in our gym, because we have to keep it keep it in context. So this is something we get to do. It's
Yeah.
not our, for most people, it's not their full personality. Now for, school owners and stuff like that, it can feel different. But for our everyday folks, it's just, we got to keep them in, like, help them to keep everything perspective. They get to do this and it's fun, and we wanted to leave smiling and not, all stressed
Mhm.
out or feeling slighted by anything. So helping to keep our art in perspective, I think, kind of soothes a lot of that and lets things roll off our back a little bit easier. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah,
I
but
think you hit the nail on the head. We care so much.
yeah,
And sometimes it's wrapped in ego, and sometimes it's just the fact that we care so much that any little thing, it's like there's a thorn in there. And uh, by not taking ourselves so seriously, we can kind of help pull that thorn out. But if we just leave it in there, the more we roll around and move, it's going to go in deeper,
yeah, yeah.
And
I like the way Guro Dan says it's just like for different systems. They're just system proud.
yeah.
They're just system proud. They're just proud of the thing that they've been a part of. And of course you should be. Of
Hmm.
course, you put a lot of energy into it. Of course you're going to be. And that is an honest thing. That's actually probably a good thing, that you take ownership, responsibility for that. But also, if you hold it too tightly, then, anybody trying to poke at it, it's going to irritate you quicker. So that's why MKG in general, the organization, has always kind of been um, a light for me, because most of the folks that I've met through that are, we can goof around with the best of them and still train really hard. And you know you've been to the headquarters and you've been to the camps and stuff. There are 100 people at sometimes with those things, and we can't all have the same perspective on everything. But yet, we train hard, everybody hit the pads, everybody's sweaty afterwards, and then we go out and have dinner, sit around, have a beer, or just hang around and chit chat. And even if there's a disagreement, a lot of times they're too tired or enough to like let it bother them,
Yeah.
And because, even within like tighter circles, I mean, I've seen in the MKG world where a lot of times there's people that are completely opposite on different ends of the spectrum on any topic, but yet they can agree that martial arts at MKG has been a great thing for them, and we want to protect that.
Yeah.
And not let little slights and things cause big rifts. So still happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I mean, it's happened with us, but we're still here 15 years later. So I think we can heal those wounds quicker, because of the environment that we have, Yeah.
Not
Anyway.
taking ourselves so seriously is really important, brother.
Yeah, I think because then you can laugh it off, like, oh yeah, I did do something stupid there, instead of being like, what do you mean, Oh yeah, I did drop my hands.
Yeah,
and that's why I got popped in the mouth because I dropped my hands. Okay, well, thanks for telling me. Thanks for reminding me. I'll do my best not. Never mind. It happened again. Okay.
Yeah. So and that shot wouldn't have got in if Mike Love would have been there. We can all agree that it probably wouldn't have got in if Mike Love would have been there. All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
But wouldn't they let my hands hang out there too long with the stick? I probably wouldn't have got hit, and I wouldn't be pulling it back like a puppy that stepped on a rock or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. I mean, we're talking about these milestones. I mean, you've had like with your podcast and this the 15 years and stuff. It's really fun to talk about these things, but it also encourages me and reminds me that, man, we've done a lot of stuff, a lot of good things, and worked through things to keep things good over the years. And it's encouraging. It's encouraging. Sometimes you kind of forget because you're just in the day to day. So thanks for having me come on. I don't know for the end of this or whatever, but I just want to say it now before I forget. Thanks for having me come on because it's really cathartic and helping me kind of like, that's pretty cool. Pretty freaking cool.
It is pretty cool. That's why I wanted to have you on. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And, my numbers were ChatGPT as far as, like when I said, how long does the average martial arts school stay in business? And it went through. And,
sure, fair enough.
Right. And
I'll take it.
Well, for sure. Right. And that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I've trained at a lot of places that didn't last 15 years.
Right.
And
I don't know if that's because I'm just hard-headed or because we're successful, but I guess it doesn't really matter, does it?
Those two is yin and yang, right? Hard-headed and successful is kind of got to fit together in there because
just didn't quit, and then because I didn't know, I'm not smart enough to know when to quit. I don't know.
Just didn't quit.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Yeah.
I have 3 speed round questions for you.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I forgot about this. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. So, what is one habit that every martial artist should start tomorrow?
Spend time in your art by yourself.
I like it.
Yeah. If we're looking about like specifically around martial art, spending time moving around and exploring your body and exploring your understanding of what you know without any kind of outside influence, and just be okay with what you find out. So spend some time in your art by yourself.
What is one habit that every martial artist should stop doing tomorrow?
When you do that, don't judge yourself.
Yes.
Stop comparing yourself to other people. When you take, like I said, when you take that time to train by yourself, don't be hard on yourself. Just walk through it. The art's always going to be there for you. And if you're doing it right, you're always going to learn, always going to grow. So recognizing things that can be adjusted is just a part of it. And so don't judge yourself too harshly by it.
Well, we're going to end on that note right there.
I got one more. I'm ready, man. I'm pumped. I got one more. You said three. You said three, brother. You only gave me two.
Yes. Actually, we're going to stop on that note.
Oh, all right. Well,
all right. Yeah.
All right.
Not being
I feel cheated, but that's all right.
Oh, I can't have you leave feeling cheated.
No, I want people to leave feeling good. So don't be, work hard, spend time with yourself in your art, and don't judge yourself too harshly when you're doing it.
Yeah. All right. It's Jamie Sparling, Affinity Martial Arts, FormABLE Podcast. Josh Prior, 15-year anniversary of MKG Madison. If you haven't been there, get there. Tell him you saw him on the podcast, and I guarantee you a good time. Thanks, and check us out next time, where I'll have more speed round questions. Well, depending on if I get like the coolest answer ever. So, all right. See you next time.
Thanks a lot, Jamie.
You're welcome, brother.